Now, one more thing I want to talk about with respect to this is focus, right? Most clients, remember what I said in a previous module, that you need to calibrate on behavior, not necessarily on what people say, because often what people say covers up the reality of what it is trying to communicate. And the number one way I can illustrate this is with focus, right? Most people think, like when I say focus, most people think they're focused on what they want. So when I'm teaching mind mechanics, okay, when I'm focusing on this part here, so it's the sort of the thinking and the feeling inside of the mind body, right? Now, obviously, we can't control 75,000 thoughts a day. That's ridiculous. So instead, what I say is focus on what you want, okay? And obviously, emotions are this touchy subject that people try to avoid. They think they have to repress them or suppress them or dominate them, or I don't know what. Let me tell you something. Emotions are a guidance system. So you must choose positive emotions, but not because you choose it, but because the emotions are actually indicative of where your focus is. So when you're actually focused on what you want, and the programs that support you in your behavior are also focused on what you want, the resulting emotion will be positive. If you are not focused on what you want, or you're focused on what you want, but the programs that run you unconsciously competent are not focused on what you want, then the resulting emotional communication will be negative, period. So you want those two things aligned. And then finally, you've got to have a physiology of power. So let's focus on focus, because it all banks on focus. You must focus on what you want. Your client must focus on what they want, and don't be deceived by their words. Let me use an example of the difference between focusing on what you want and actually focusing away from what you don't want. They both move you in the same direction. So I'd like to use a funny example of, say, for example, that at this end of the room here, right? So at this end of the room here is what I don't want, and over here is what I want, okay? So let's say it's New Year's Day, because this is a very common one, and I'll just use this funny ha-ha out of context example so you get the difference between focusing on what you want, focusing on what you don't want. Okay, now, in my example, it's New Year's Day, and I have let my health lapse, and I've eaten far too much over the holidays, and so I wake up on New Year's Day, and I'm kind of disgusted by what I see. You know, people say this all the time. They go, oh my God, I'm so fat. Okay, so let's say what I don't want is, oh my God, I'm so fat. All right, so that's what I don't want. That's over here. Now, let's say what I want is to be super fit. That's down here. I want to be super fit. Okay, so in this example, the orientation of my body, i.e. what I'm looking at, is what I'm focused on, okay? So listen to how the words are incongruent with what I'm focused on. So what I'm looking at and the proximity to what I'm looking at, like if I'm really close to what I'm looking at, then my motivation will be high. And the further I get away from that, my motivation will go down. So let's say it's New Year's Day, okay? And here I am, and I go, oh my God, I'm so fat, right? So clearly it's right here, my motivation's high, but let's pretend I don't say that to people, because who says that to people? So I want to sound good. So I'll say to my friends, my New Year's resolution is to be fit. So remember, fit is way down here at this end. Okay. So it's way down here, but I'm secretly focused on not being fat. So I'm focused on getting away from being fat because I'm looking at it, but I'm using the words fit. So I say my motivation's high because it's, I'm really close to what I'm focused on, which is not being fat. And so I say, okay, so I'm going to go on a cleanse or whatever. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to start working out, and I'm going to start, cutting out all of the sugar and alcohol, whatever. And notice how I'm moving towards what I want. So fit is way down here, and I am moving towards it, but I'm focused on getting away from being fat. I'm not being fat. Now, I've moved far away from it, so my motivation's starting to decrease, okay? Now, somebody has a birthday, and I get invited, and I go to the party, and I've got my bag of carrots, and I'm ready to be good, and whatever, and it's a big birthday, and, they're really disappointed I'm not going to have a piece of cake, and really disappointed I'm not going to have a glass of champagne, and so I say to myself, you know what, see, my motivation has waned, because I got kind of far away from it, so it's not so bad anymore. So I say to myself, you know what, I've been so good. I'm just going to have one piece. And so what happens is I have one piece, and then all the dopamine receptors explode, and then I have another piece, and then I can't get up in the morning, and then I don't go to the gym, and then I've blown it anyway, so I might as well go to the party. And then all of a sudden, notice what's happening. I'm going back to what I don't want, but I'm focused on it, and I'm getting closer to it. So my motivation goes up again. I go, stop, I don't want to be fat. But I don't say that out loud. What I say is I want to be fit. So I say I want to be fit, but really in my mind, I'm focused on not being fat. And so I do the things again until I get far enough away that my motivation wanes, and then somebody tempts me. And so then enter in the yo-yo result. Okay. So as a coach, you need to calibrate on behavior. Anybody with the yo-yo result is focused on what they don't want, despite the fact of whatever is coming out of their mouth. Calibrate on behavior. Now, how does it look on New Year's Day if I want to be fit and it's way over there and I'm over here, right? Now I'm focused on being fit, but my motivation's actually pretty low. I mean, I want it, desire and willingness, but I'm not crazy. So I do a few things. They're moderate. I don't restrict. I go to a couple parties. I'm careful. I've won this or won that, or maybe I do a new class or whatever. And I slowly, I do a 5K walk, run to raise money at the office. And then I do, that goes well. And then I try on my jeans and they're a bit loose. And now as I'm getting closer to my goal, my motivation's going up. So I'm trying more and more, and I'm getting bolder and bolder, and I'm doing more and more. And eventually I reach my goal. It takes longer. There's no setback. And what you see is a consistent move towards what you want. That's the difference between focusing on what you want and focusing away from what you don't want. And the problem is you get what you are focused on, not what you talk about. Your clients get what they are actually focused on. So you need to understand how to work within the mechanics of their mind to change the internal focus. It's not enough. Positive thinking is important, but it's not enough. And this is the biggest mistake people make. They think if I just speak positively enough, or if I'm a motivational coach, that'll be enough. It's not enough. You have to be able to change what goes on inside the mind of your client. How do you do that? Well, those are the techniques of the mechanics of the mind. You have to understand how to elicit what's going on inside of the mind of your client. This includes rep systems, values, meta programs, language patterns, et cetera, so that you can construct the type of mindset that they need in order to be able to choose the behaviors that produce the results. This is where most coaches make the mistake. The results start in the mind, and then they dictate the choices of behavior for action that your client will have on the way to getting their results. You want to be a better coach? Learn more about how to get inside their mind, get inside their model of reality, and learn how to enable them to get in touch with the resources they need to be able to choose the actions they need to get the results they want.